Hello everyone, it's Funbot28 here, and I'm back with another video, this time discussing a recently new added other metagame called Let's Go Overuse, which has been recently added to the other metagame section after the release of Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee in late November. And today I'll be discussing like recent metagame changes, like rises and drops with fellow council members if they would like to introduce themselves.
What order are we doing this in?
What?
Yeah, I'll introduce myself. I'm Ezeth's other council member. Did a video on this metagame before, and before I joined it.
I'm Spooktoon, and I'm just here for the ride, man. I'm a great user.
I think all
you and just hanging out here.
But I think all you guys
around the house.
We all started when the metagame came out, right? I think it's safe to say.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We all got it on the ground.
I play on the Nexus server for a bit.
Yeah, that
I
too,
was
yeah.
playing on the Nexus. I mean,
what all those bugs? Yeah. But anyways,
yes,
so
we all were even earlier.
Yeah. But besides that, so we'll be talking about
Chris was programming on
okay.
Yeah. But besides that, we'll be talking about some recent metagame changes, and the first thing I think that we should highlight the most is kind of the fall off of Eevee starters. So if you guys want to add some commentary on that.
Yeah, Eevee was like very good. I mean, it's still very good to be honest, but it has like really great utility, but its stats suck.
I mean, its speed stat isn't awful, but like it's just defensive stats.
Yeah,
like
it
if
has,
we
like...
had Eviolite, if you could wear if you can use items like Eviolite, I'm pretty sure it'd be at least better.
I mean, I'm not even sure if it would work with Eviolite because it can't evolve. But
That's true.
But true.
I think it's just, I guess we kind of all just looked at its moves and didn't consider other factors and just were overhyping it, which, you know, I want to get it out of the way, that whole notion that it's a bad mon, which I definitely disagree with. It's still very usable and a lot of teams could still use it.
I want to get over it.
Yeah, it's still very good. I use it.
There's no replacements.
No, you know, and especially teams.
That can cure. It's the one thing that can cure rest.
Yeah.
But I mean, rest has been falling off as well.
People were loving rest in day one, and in the AG format, it's invaluable. But
that's what I was going to say. I think the hype for Eevee came through from the Nexus Candy format.
Yeah, and I definitely think in Candy it's very, very good, you know. But I think
in Candy, like in the Candy OU we had on Nexus, we literally banned Sappy Seed because it was too dominant.
Yeah, I was there for that. Wow.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, because Eevee was just absolutely...
You could basically not beat it off the
It had massive bulk. Because everything was so bulky.
Like base stats don't really matter, yeah. It's more... It's
like
more
the difference in stats is really dwarfed. It's basically just your move pool and your typing.
Yeah, it's like, it could pretty much live forever, like, versus a physical attacker like Melmetal, by just burning it and then using Sappy.
But anyway, we're talking about the Candy meta.
Yeah, but I think the major problems it faces here, like I think versus like more defensive teams, more slower teams, it does really well because, you know, it's super annoying with Sappy Seed plus the burning move Sizzly Slide plus Protect. Like it could just annoy a lot of mons. But like when you're facing teams with Mega Alakazam, Mega Gengar, Mega Aerodactyl, things that outspeed and just for the most of the part one hit KO you, especially after rocks, it really has a hard, like you kind of always have to like either sack them on going into it or do a very aggressive play, let's say on a Shadow Ball for Mega Gengar, but even then it has to be near full health if it wants to live a Sludge Bomb and do anything, you know. So it's like I don't know.
Yeah,
I think that's what kind of happened, but it's still
it's invaluable for some
threats.
Yeah. So, okay, so moving on from that, I think another mon that we mentioned before is Mega Alakazam. So, I think what happened with it, it's like, it's still a very good mon. It's definitely not bad, you know. Even at the beginning of the metagame, people were starting, like, the first knee-jerk reaction was, like, add a Alolan Muk, but I think people are starting to explore more now. We have things like Alolan Dugzero, Snorlax, and, you know, stuff like that, so...
Yeah. I was going to say, I think its main weakness is that it's too good, so everyone prepares for it.
Yeah.
To the point where it's not that good. But
I never really liked Megas now.
It's always going to be a check or counter of some sort.
Yeah, because nobody wants to lose to it. Because if you don't have one, you lose to it. So everyone has one.
Like, I think
never liked Mega Zam because I just never saw it as good. Everyone still runs probably. They still run a Willamuck, and that thing can tank the Dazzling Gleam and kill it in one hit.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you switch, like, it can't switch on it repeatedly is the main thing, and then...
No, I can't switch it in.
Yeah, rest is kind of like a fodder move half the time.
I think the problem what comes with it is like, yeah, if you just rely on one check to it, then that usually the Zam player is going to wear down to the point like where that check is no longer reliable. But I think the problem comes when you have stuff like Muck plus Melmetal, right? So like you have to be like, okay, do I go Shadow Ball to hit the Melmetal, or do I click Dazzling Gleam on the Muck switch it? So it's kind of like, it has a hard time sometimes when you have to pick the right coverage move to the right check, because most teams are running more than one Zam check. So I think that's where the problem really comes when using it.
Yeah, I think it's like, stats are amazing, but its stab combined with its coverage leaves too many holes.
Yeah. Like if it had something like even like ground coverage, then it would be super good, because it could just rely stuff like hidden power ground, it just needs to rely on that one move to hit its two most like used counters, I would say. You know what I mean? So I think that's the problem that comes. But again, like as a cleaner, it's probably one of the best. Like late game, once its checks are weakened, it could just really win games, especially after a combo move.
I think cleaner's like the biggest part of this mess right now. Just wear everything down and then win late game with a Pokemon designed to win late game.
Yeah, and I think that's most part due to Stealth Rock chip damage, which we can go upon later, but...
and less prominent healing options.
Yeah.
Stealth Rocks.
And priority not being
with
as
the period at the end.
Yeah. Lots of options go in favor of cleaners.
So speaking about cleaners, we can move on to the next one that kind of seen a recent decline of usage in Mega Aerodactyl, which kind of shares a lot of similar traits with Zam, but I think for the most part, like people have like, because most of the teams that do use Mega or have the option to use Mega Aerodactyl, because you can technically run more than one Mega Evolution per team. Like
you don't lose anything.
So you see stuff like Arrow plus Zam, Arrow plus Gengar. There's not really more and more people are opting to Mega Evolve their other like quote-unquote better Mega Evolutions in terms of Arrow, and they just use it as a suicide lead. And even regular Aerodactyl itself is still a pretty decent cleaner, and it could still do the same jobs as its Mega form. But so I think that's for the most part where it's kind of like seeing a decline in a sense, you know?
Yeah. I think if you're going to use Mega Arrow, you use it for its offensive capabilities now.
Yeah.
I refuse
I still rock users. There's less taunts going around. That people were spamming taunt at the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, taunt Mew is still used, you know, but yeah.
Oh yes, that Mew.
I feel like I think that's Suicide Lead Mega Arrow is still pretty great, and I'm not saying it can't function.
I don't see the use in it though, because like because in regular format
you use your Mega. Yeah, you're using your Mega to get up rocks.
But I've definitely played games where I've been able to both set up my rocks, taunt the other Stealth Rocker, and it's usually like Rhydon, and then sweep their team to a point where I just won with Mega Arrow.
But the issue I see with that, because
most other Suicide Lead.
Most other rockers.
It's not a Suicide Lead, but it was supposed to be, yeah. But I managed to sweep with it.
But I think for the most part, like most other rockers can beat at 1v1, you know what I mean? Like you have stuff like Rhydon.
Everyone's counting on it.
You know, so like even if it clicks taunt, the Rhydon could just click Rock Slide and KO it. So it's like it's kind of like a trait. Like obviously you could put yourself in a situation where, like you said, you taunt it, like you're able to work your way around it. But I think for the most part, Arrow just has a hard time doing what it wants to do. You know, or what people expect it to do. I think like you said, is off like the. Its major role right now is just being like a great late game cleaner like Zam, and with Edgequake, like I probably that's the best stab combination in the metagame right now, having Rock Slide and Earthquake, you know. So I think I think that's where a lot of value is seen with it. And then I guess for
Yeah.
Were you saying something?
I think that's right. I'm still saying that I see your opinion, but I still want to say that it's great as a Suicide Lead.
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
it's definitely it's the suicide lead.
Yeah.
But I think that's the issue.
Fills that description.
Yeah.
But I guess moving on from that, speaking about rockers, we could talk about the other most commonly used one, at least early on in the metagame, in Ride-On. I think for the most part, a lot of people saw value in Ride-On. Initially, it's the go-to Zapdos counter, right? And Zapdos is a great mon in its own right. But I think we're seeing other Zapdos counters being used now. We see Alawundagio, we see Nidoqueen / Nidoking sometimes. And I think that's where it's kind of falling off, in a sense.
Yeah. And also, everyone's running like tech to try and hit it as hard as possible, as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Or like they just run a Mega Gyarados or
I think Mega Gyarados hit the nail on the coffin, and especially even Mega Venusaur's kind of seeing a up in usage. I think it's just it's 4 times weakness. It has
definitely very awful.
Its strengths are really good though.
Yeah, but its weaknesses are awful because I'm pretty sure you can OHKO with Sappy Seed, Eevee.
I don't think it one hits, no.
No, I don't.
It definitely does not, because I'm pretty sure Pikachu barely manages to.
Okay, my bad.
Yeah.
But I think another thing too is the rise in Mega Drain alone Mach, that kind of hit it hard too. Like it's just
that's why I'm running Jolly on all my Ride-Ons.
Yeah. It's just like so much of the metagame hits it super effectively that it has a hard time. And the fact that it's slow, because even Mega Aerodactyl has a lot of weaknesses, but at least it's fast, it could get the first hit. But Ride-On, you're kind of just relying on the fact that can it take a hit, and for the most part, it won't, so. But it's still, like you said, it's very, very good. It's a good, it has Edgequake, and it could kind of mess stuff up with Taunt or Toxic on its own or Roaring stuff. And it's like probably still one of the best Zapdos counters we have, but again, there's other...
If you get in on a Zapdos and the Zapdos doesn't U-turn, it does a lot of damage to something.
yeah, that's for sure. So I think that's what really happened with Ride-On. But, okay, so moving on from the drops, I think those are the most popular or whatever, the ones that have drastically changed. We could talk about stuff that's kind of risen up in the metagame. And I think for the first and foremost we have to talk about is Mega Gyarados and how that took the meta by storm, so to speak.
Yes.
Would you say it's the best Mega? Would you guys consider it? Yeah? Yeah.
I'm still on the Arrow Mega train, of course.
I don't think being a good suicide lead is enough to warrant being better than the best breaker in the entire metagame.
Yeah.
The largest attack stat available?
Yeah, like it's the strongest thing with like an amazing dual stab, great coverage and Earthquake, and then like 1,000 different options for its last slot, like Substitute, Facade. I think the best is Thunder Wave, honestly.
Thunder Wave. Even Taunt.
Make it slower, it slower than your own Gyarados, and then you can even like Power Flinch them with Waterfall.
Yeah, and I understand what you mean. I just haven't used it often.
Yeah.
I haven't used
and it's
it
so
enough,
bulky as well.
Yeah, and another thing I want to do is the type change. You could really mess up a lot of people with that whole mind game of when it's gonna Mega Evolve, like when you're facing exam. I think that's the most practical situation where the Zam has to kind of second guess, is it Click Psychic or does it Dazzling Gleam for more damage, and so it's I think it offers not only a lot of power but bulk, and it's like an all-in-one type of mon, and it's
great for wearing like an entire team down.
Yeah. Like you could,
and Zapdos isn't even a safe switch.
No, not at all. I don't think it really has any safe switches, to be honest. I
think it's Poliwrath.
Poliwrath, yeah. But besides that, there's not really much that could take it on. And I would consider it like one of the best mons right now.
That's why I love Poliwrath. Just switches right half the time.
So moving on from that, another Mega Evolution that's kind of picking up some steam is Mega Gengar. In terms of, a lot of people are comparing it to Zam and like the replacement Zam, which I think they kind of do different things, even though they both can be considered cleaners. I think Gar has the niche of having utility options. Like I really like Protect Disable or Sub Disable for the most part.
And they can Wisp to cripple its answers. Like whereas like Zam can't really do anything.
Again, I haven't really used it at all. Actually, for example, I've used Mega Dose.
Thunderbolt is also a really nice, strong coverage for it.
Yeah. Especially for...
It's got loads of options compared to Zam, but it doesn't have the setup or quite the speed tier. So, like, it's sort of a trade-off.
I think in terms of comparing them, I think you can and you can't at the same time, and I think it's in the end of the day, it faces a lot of issues that Zam has. Apart from having a lower speed, most teams carry at least 2 checks to it. Let's say Muck and Melmetal again, and it has to face the mind games of clicking which tab. But like as you said, it has options to work around, like wisping something or going for substitute disable. Like it has more options in the utility department that I think may not make it necessarily better than Zam, but makes it like a contender for a team slot, if you know what I mean. Like, yeah, and I think that's it for the most part. Even regular Gengar, like you don't have to Mega Evolve it necessarily all the time. Like especially against more slower teams, it could be super annoying.
Yeah, it can still be annoying.
Yeah, but I think it's still very, very good. Yeah, and that's kind of.
It already outspeeds a good deal of things.
Yeah. Okay, so another mon that we could talk about, which kind of went up alongside the Gengar usage, is a Alolan Ductrio. And
Alolan Ductrio went way up. Like UU to probably like one of the most used in OU.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. You think about, look at this mon. It has like really low defenses, and its typing is pretty cool, and especially offensively. But I think for the most part,
it doesn't even have Steel Stab.
No, that's it. That was about but I think for the most part, a lot of people are liking it because it counters Zapdos basically, and can deal.
And it's fast.
And deals with Zam. Well, like. Okay, when it says deals with, I think it's more offensively check Zam because of the threat of Sucker Punch, and I think it could switch in once, right, after SR?
Yeah, it can switch in once.
Even with Modest Zam, I think, though. Probably.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I ran that.
Yeah. So I think that's for the most part, and a lot of people still, like, consider, like, they say it has too many weaknesses, and it is frail. Like, no one's saying it's there to take hits, but I think what it does offensively is pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's quite nice how it takes like very little from Stealth Rocks at all.
Yeah.
Because of its typing.
Alright, okay, so another Mega Evolution that a lot of people have been picking up recently, which I haven't used a lot myself personally, is Mega Beedrill. So if you guys want to comment on it more, because I can't really say much.
Honestly, I've barely used it. I think I've used it once, but
I have not seen much.
It's really not that bad. Like, the Rock's weakness is a little bit annoying, but I mean, it just does a lot of damage when it's in, and like, it's a great pivot, and I don't know.
I just don't see it because like it's still getting outsped by Zam and Arrow, Mega Zam and Mega Arrow. So like,
I mean, yeah, but their popularity is dying off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's benefiting from meta trends.
Yeah.
Watch out for the King Electrode.
Oh god. But I guess
will never be king.
Like stuff like UU, I know in the first few games we tried Mega Beedrill, and it's really good down there.
I mean, it does the same thing in OU. Like, right? There's not much difference.
Yeah.
Wait, does it get drill run?
Honestly.
Let's go.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's get drill.
That's one of the big things that benefits to it.
Yeah. So it can hit Melmetal.
That's like,
yeah, and it can hit a Logan mark.
Poor Ninkado doesn't even get that, but that's not in this universe.
Oh, but so I guess like, I do see the merit, but I don't know. I guess it's just something that's to riding recent meta trends, but I don't see it something that's gonna like sustain itself. At least I don't
think it's as godly as like I think it was ABR was saying.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's definitely better than people were giving it credit for.
It's definitely
it's way better than unranked.
It deserves a spot on the VR for sure, but I don't know. Okay.
I feel like it's definitely like way too frail.
Yeah.
That's a thing with it, yeah.
I think but I think one thing that it benefits, like in terms of standard metagames, is the fact there's no pursuit, and I think that's something that really hinders it in like regular Pokemon. But I think that option here, like that, or like even the priority usage is like basically like non-existent here besides Pikachu. So I think that benefits Pikachu. We'll talk about that maybe, but okay. Another mon that I think Ezaf you have a lot more to say on.
Yeah, I have a lot to say about this one.
Is Dragonite. So if you want to start,
you need it to be mega, so you can't really run it with other megas.
Oh, that's it.
Unless somehow it gets destroyed real early.
Yeah.
But otherwise,
we're on Dragonite now. All right. Should I talk?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go first.
Okay.
That's all I have to say about that.
Dragonite, it has a really strong outrage, is like the main thing. It's got 134 attack and outrage. You might think that's not enough at first, but it's also, like, it's got 600 BST and that ends up in a lot of places. It's really bulky, it's really strong, and it's like fast enough to outspeed everything with an agility, so it makes it for like an amazing late game cleaner, because there's only one mon that really switches into outrage that's ever used, which is Metal, and it can run Earthquake for that if it's weakened enough.
Does it run Fire Blast too, I think, sometimes?
Oh yeah, it has Fire Blast, but I prefer Earthquake because it's just a more spammable move, like if you don't want to lock into outrage. And I mean, like, you can easily build a team to lure in and weaken it. No, it doesn't need multi-scale, it's really bulky anyway, and everything's weaker.
I
guess?
Like, it really does not need multi-scale.
No,
and I mean, it would never have its multi-scale anyway, let's be real.
Yeah, what I saw everywhere, but I think also what kind of benefits from, like, what it benefits from is, like, there's not really a lot of usage of ice-type moves in general in the metagame, like...
Yeah.
So
that's
I think,
a big thing.
Yeah.
It's like Metal's Ice Punch and maybe Polyrat's Ice Punch, and that's about it.
That's about it, yeah. And in terms, like, it also resists a lot of things, like being resist fire, resist water, like, and being immune to ground type moves. Like, these are like common offensive type moves in the minigame. So I think for that too.
If it's got enough health, like, it's bulky enough that it can set up on stuff like Zapdos and even like Aerodactyl.
Does it have access?
It can almost set up on. It can sometimes live Rock Slide from Mega Aerodactyl after rocks.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But and then it can heal it off with a roost after agility.
Okay, so it does have roost, yeah. Okay. One thing I want to consider is this special sets? You think agility max, like, fully especially offensive, does that have merit, or is it really outrageous?
It honestly could have merit, yeah, but I think just like as a cleaner, it's nice to just be able to go, I have 134 attack outrage, and now I will just win versus your last 3 mons.
They have outrage, very rare.
Yes. It's got the strongest outrage in the game, which is one of the strongest physical attacks that are actually viable in the entire metagame.
And when you consider that...
Charizard has the Tide attack. Another fun guy who's...
Mega Charizard, we could talk about that, but...
Yeah.
I think
Dragonite's honestly the best dragon, though.
Yeah, I know, for sure.
And probably one of the best, like...
If I had to choose among them, I would pick Zard. That's just me.
I mean...
Dragonite's the actual sweep between them. And, like, you can put Dragonite onto a team. If you have a team that's good at dealing good damage around on most things, Dragonite will easily abuse what that team can do for it.
And I think when you consider...
all it needs is, like, it needs like 30% and it wins. Sorry, yeah, continue.
No, it's okay. But I think the best thing is that when you consider the best fairy type in the metagame is Clefable, like, I think
Clefable's like never used except
exactly.
by me.
that's my point exactly. So, like, you could just spam outrage with no, like, when you get rid of the Melmetal, because even like other steel types like Alolan Dugtrio, that's not going to take 2 outrages. So it's like there's really, I don't really see the
repercussions. It's Melmetal.
It's Melmetal. It's Melmetal, yeah. So. And that's like one of the most easiest things to learn the current metagame, so I think... Yeah.
Because you can easily run a lot of stuff that can lure it. That's one of the reasons I'm running Clefable, but people will catch on to that eventually, because Clefable's Fire Blast does a lot.
I don't think so. I want to go. I'm just going to say Clefable is not going to do great.
Clefable is great. I don't know what you mean. Clefable is my favourite rocker by far, honestly.
Harry was good in Gen... It's not good now.
Huh? It's good now, yeah. What's wrong with it?
But is it because...
Honestly, I just lead with it, weaken everything, and then bring in something else to abuse that weakening, because Moonblast hits pretty hard. It's got base 95 attack with modest, that's alright.
But it doesn't have recovery, right? So...
No, but I just run Moonblast, Fire Blast, CM, Stealth Rock, and it hits basically everything. If you can't mind on the Melmetal switch, and that's a dead Melmetal, then you've got +1 in both stats.
That's true.
And, like, it gets up rocks as well. Yeah. And, Moonblast actually hits a lot of things quite well. And you can Fire Blast Venu because it doesn't have thick fat. Yeah. And that'll do quite a lot.
And there's not, like, in terms of, like, things that hit it super effectively, all we have really is double Iron Bash from...
Yeah, because Alolan Mug basically never runs Poison Jab.
It's true.
So honestly, I've 1v1'd a lot of Alolan Mugs with Clefable.
It's kind of ironic. So...
Yeah.
Okay,
sounds like the stupidest thing.
Another mon we could talk about is Snorlax. And which kind of, like, almost in a sense, it's like it's Clefable in the sense where it just like has a lot of options in its move pool, and it hits a lot of things super effectively, and it's just fat. Like it's a fat mon. Like
Yep, that's
really...
not.
No, but I mean in terms of bulk.
It's a fat mon.
It's in terms of bulk, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
It's got a great move pool.
Yeah, and I think it's a normal
does
type.
Does it get cursed?
No, it doesn't get cursed, right?
What does it get?
Dang.
I forget.
You can get cursed.
It does get cursed.
It's got like, it's got obviously return. It's got body slam. It's got no, it hasn't got return. That doesn't exist. Or does it?
But...
I can't.
Please.
Yeah.
This is hard
with
this metagame. Yeah, you have to remember.
Normal, usually facade.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually run
like,
facade. Yeah.
I mean, it's got Surf for Rhydon. It's got Fire Blast for Metal Metal, or just Earthquake. It's got Crunch.
Running special Snorlax, just.
Yeah, I mean, special Snorlax is a thing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but well, like in terms of just coverage, like Surf and Fire Blast are definitely used. I've seen it before.
Yeah.
I think there's.
I think it's the most specially bulky viable most viable Pokemon, because Chansey is really specially bulky.
But it's not a thing.
It's got like negative physical bulk, so.
I don't really like Chansey at all.
I kind of like Chansey sometimes, once in a while, but it's
It's just so passive. Like even though it has like teleport to kind of offer some momentum, it's just.
I mean, Seismic Toss Toxic 1v1's basically every special attack except Gengar. So.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of nice. Seismic Toss Toxic Soft Boiled, and like it actually has Soft Boiled, so that's another boon for it, but it just can't take a physical hit at all.
Yeah.
It takes like 40 from Zapdos U-turn.
That's crazy. Yeah. Wow.
And it almost dies like Aerodactyl Earthquake.
So I guess we covered, are there any like other sleeper picks that you guys would want to just bring up here?
Let me take a look at some of the stuff in my teams, because I can run some stupid stuff.
Well, that was our list.
Mega Pidgeot's kind of picking up, like, with Hyper Beam for some reason.
I've never seen that, but...
Like, people have been talking about it a lot. Like, apparently, Hyper Beam Pidgeot, I think, is, like, the strongest special attack in the game or something. Like, that's not banned, so...
I guess so,
that's something.
But
I mean, it's also Hyper Beam, so...
You know? I don't know, just wasting a Mega slot on Pidgeot just doesn't seem worth it at the end.
I mean, I think it's better than Megazard Y, but that's not saying much.
No,
like, it's got Air/Heatwave. Air/Heatwave is a good combination, and it's actually quite bulky, like, decently bulky. It can take pretty much any one hit.
Okay, but I guess speaking of Charizard, Mega Charizard X, on the other hand, is something I really, really enjoy. Especially, I think, bulky Zard with like Will-O-Wisp, Roost, and like dual coverage.
It's one of the Will-O-Wisp Roost users. Did you say any more?
I think I said this in my introduction to Let's Go, but I think Special Zard X has been and still is better.
Yeah, I changed Lion's moveset.
Yeah, the special.
Fire Blast, Dragon Pulse.
Yeah.
Like,
that's what I use.
It's way better than Outrage Flare Blitz, because those moves just have two big downsides.
And you don't have Tough Claws, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, so you've got the same special attack and attack. It just doesn't matter. And there's no Dragon Dance either.
I honestly, just because Tough Claws exists, I honestly just forgot it had an even special attack stat.
Yeah, I think everyone forgot about that.
Seriously.
And then I looked and I was like, wait, why am I running Flare Blitz when I can run Fire Blast and not take recoil as well as rocks?
Yeah. That was me at the beginning too. And I think, and I want to talk about fire types in general, because I think they're pretty undervalued, because yes, they're way too SR, but having a switch into Slizzy Slide is so good at times. Like, when Eevee could just burn your entire team for basically free as you try to like maneuver around it, having something that has that immunity to it, per se, I think that's pretty undervalued. And dealing with stuff like Venusaur, Mega Venusaur, and Melmetal, of course, is like also really good. Especially now.
That's one of the reasons I kind of think Arcanine is sort of cool, but it's got its problems, but it has a very nice BST. Like, it's got stats in the right places. So you can run, like, mixed. It's got moves like Play Rough to help versus Mega Gyarados.
That's true.
It can hit most things super effectively.
I was wondering what Play Rough would be good for.
And it's got Wisp. And, like, it's got Roar as well if you wanted. Like,
it's
stats fading.
immune to Sizzly Slide, but But then Eevee comes around, smacks you with the good old Sparkly Swirl.
I mean, Sparkly Swirl. I mean, that does like.
This world's a resist too.
Yeah,
so
that does like 10 as well. And I mean, like, Arcanine even has agility, so I might have to try that as a late game cleaner at some point.
Anything with agility.
It has 100. It has 110 attack and special.
That's true.
There's a lot of agility.
Wait, does it have? No, it doesn't have Morning Sun, right? That's not a thing.
Morning Sun is not.
I meant Sparkly Swirl on Charizard X.
Oh yeah, I mean that doesn't do much.
But
either.
it doesn't really. Yeah, no, it doesn't do that.
And you can burn the Eevee, so it like its attacks do even less.
It's true.
And then you can just kill it because you're Mega Charizard X.
It's to it goes, yeah. But speaking about like Eevees, so what are our thoughts on Pikachu? Because at the beginning, no, but I want to say like at the beginning, people hated it, right? Because you can't run both Eevee and Pikachu. But I think I'm not saying it's good, but I think it has merit. Like you could use it.
Oh, I mean, I definitely know it has merits. Like I was the one that put it on like the sample team with Pikachu.
Yeah.
And then I removed it from that sample team later and replaced it with Mew. But that's aside the point.
I think having its coverage is okay. I mean, having surfed at this, or not surfed at the water moves.
Its coverage, yeah. Its coverage is nice, but it can't even Oko and Alolan Dugtrio with its water move.
I think that's awesome. And
it's so weak, and it's as frail as a Dugtrio.
And its
it doesn't bring as much utility as a Dugtrio. Its priority is good for Mega Aero and Mega Zam, and that's it.
That's it, yeah. It's pretty weak, yeah.
And Thunderbolt doesn't even Oko a plus Spadef regular Gyarados.
Imagine. I think if they would have buffed its special attack too, it would be like pretty decent. But right now,
yeah, if it had like 10 less attack and maybe 10 more special attack instead of it,
yeah,
this would be a good mon almost. But as it is, it's like weak, so weak it can't Oko anything except Rhydon, and so frail it dies to an Alakazam Psychic.
And I want to special attack when it has all those physical signature moves as well.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Yeah, that's sad. If only Floatyful was special, it could like
bulk up.
Yeah.
Pretty well.
People are actually considering. They were saying that they should give Pikachu a move kind of like similar to Defog, since Eevee's the only cleric in a metagame, that it would be like the only hazard removal, which I definitely think.
I think they said there was sort of like plans for that almost, like to make Floatyful a hazard removal.
To make his priority move also clear hazards.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah. Which I think
makes sense.
It would still be like not great, but at least it would give it more of a niche, right? I mean, because since
it would be sort of like Eevee, it would kind of suck in some ways, but it would be invaluable in others. Yeah. So like, if you want to run the Articuno, for example, or like Moltres, or even Charizard, probably you'd run Pikachu.
Yeah. And okay, so just to kind of wrap up this video, I want to discuss the impact of Stealth Rock, and is it unhealthy? Like at what point do we accept it as, because we've been having this discussion in council, and a lot of us were having this debate, is it something that's integral to the metagame that we should just accept and move on and deal with, or does its impact of like invalidating, well, it doesn't really, and like you could still use Zard, but like the fact that its viability just goes way down with the presence of something that can be removed, and there's not much counterplay, once the rocks are up, they're up. So
the thing is, I don't think like rocks being permanent is kind of bad, but like it's not that different in the end, because like Pokemon that are made worse because of rocks usually anyway.
Yeah.
And like honestly, I mean stuff like Moltres and Charizard are probably as viable, if not more, in this OU than they are in regular, despite the rocks.
True.
I mean, you gotta think about it like this way. Take them on like Charizard Mega Y.
I mean, I think that would be worse than Zard X in most cases anyway, to be honest.
Yeah, it's still pretty bad.
OU, but in this metagame, it's UU because it just gets hit by rocks so much.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't think
there's a few losers, but overall I think it adds to the metagame. I don't know. It makes it like adds residual that most other metagames have and is useful.
I don't think it's necessarily the fault of rocks. I think it's the problem is what we have is that there's not really options for reliable recovery. So every hit point that's removed matters. So, and I think that's why initially people were like, "Oh, Zam's broken because like it could just chip down its its checks, but I think more and more people are adapting. They're being more wise, in terms of making like smarter plays to not make their checks be worn down.
Preserve your stuff.
Yeah, in terms, I don't know.
Every percentage counts.
Yeah,
and like, that's why I mean, another big thing like to do with what you mentioned about lack of reliable cover is like, what was I saying? Oh yeah, a lot of Pokemon that are weak to rocks happen to be flying types with Roost.
Yeah. So they do have
which mitigates it quite a bit.
Even Charizard, again, it can Mega into X and Roost.
Yeah.
So Wisp, all that nonsense.
Yeah.
It's like some of the best Pokemon in the meta game, in my opinion, are flying types or start out as flying types.
Yeah.
So
it comes to
Roost being a TN is perfect.
Yeah. Another thing we could talk about briefly is Mew. So. Is it the best mon? I think it and Melmetal.
I think it's the most ban-worthy mon, to be honest. It's like often it's nigh impossible to kill.
Yeah.
So unpredictable.
I love like
you so much. Just honestly, like the Wisp Roost set with Psychic and Flamethrower. Sorry, like how do you? Like half the time you just cannot kill that.
No.
It will just Will-O-Wisp your Pokemon. It will roost off any damage. It will residual you.
It just does everything. I think that's the problem.
It's too bulky. It's got a great speed tier that outspeeds most tank stuff.
It does it has a fantastic move pool. Like,
line of saying, "I want this out of my metagame."
It's probably, I'd say it's the most ban-worthy Pokemon.
But
like, I used to say that was Zam, but Zam's bearable. Mew doesn't have an answer.
But I don't know necessarily if it's broken per se, like in the traditional sense. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's
like,
often bearable. Like I don't think I've ever lost just like straight out from my opponent having a Mew, but I don't know. It's often you do have to sacrifice quite a lot.
Yeah.
Just to wear down Mew.
And I think the impact that has on team building, like most teams necessarily, like when I build a team. I always often ask myself, like, why am I not using Mew over X Mon? You know what I mean? Because, like, let's say in terms of being a rocker, being a setup sweeper, being just like a stall breaker, like, Mew does it all, and Mew does it often the best. So it's hard to give up, and I think that's where most of the hatred or whatever you want to call the brokenness of Mew stems from. It's like that fact of, I hate using the word, but over-essentialization, quote unquote,
Yeah, it can do so much, like, and just invalidates a lot of stuff.
So
if there were no species points, it would be like on the cart. Mewtwo's everywhere, except there Mew's everywhere.
Yeah, that's it. So I don't know, but we'll see. I think those are the two besides those two topics of discussion. I think the metagame's pretty balanced for the most part.
I really like the metagame right now.
Yeah.
It's probably like one of my favorite metagames ever.
And
that's not just because I'm doing really well on the ladder.
But it's kind of ironic because people said like it's like people said, okay, we only have limited amount of Pokemon available to us, but I think as the recent metagame trends comes to show that there is still room for creativity. Like we're seeing mons that were not used at all, like Olu Veltrio, having this surge of usage. So I think there still is development to be made.
Exactly. Yeah, the less options thing also means like, hey, there's less stuff that dominates in a specific role, so you can do more stuff.
Yeah.
And like, just the lower number of types means that some Pokemon that would otherwise not shine, like Poliwrath, for example, suddenly has quite a nice role.
Exactly.
Definitely.
So I think that should wrap up our discussion. Pretty lengthy, but I think that covered most of what we wanted to say. So there is a tournament going on now. The first Let's Go Overused tournament, so definitely check that out if you guys, the viewers, want to see like top level games.
Streaming.
Yeah. But yeah, so
that's the game today. Down R1.
Yeah. So that should be fun, and I definitely am looking forward to like what could develop further. There's even stuff like the Let's Go UU that's being formed with the recent usage stats, so that's definitely another metagame that people could try out. And there's the candy format, which is, quite decisive, but I think, it still is a fun metagame tool, even though that there's a certain overpowered mons, cough Mewtwo, but I think for the most part...
I mean, I think a candy OU should be a thing eventually, but, That's just from a person that played with it.
AG is a little bit nuts.
I think there's just a stigma with
let alone
it's bulky, but like there's techniques to get around it.
Mm-hmm.
I think like honestly, at first I was like, why are we having the candy format? No, the candyless format is the main one. Like candy is better. But it's no, like I like both of them a lot.
I think they both have their niches.
I don't like the AG format though because Mewtwo sucks and no clauses sucks, but
yeah.
You know, whatever.
Oh wait, I know this is the end of the video, but another mana we forgot to add completely is Venomoth as a drop. Like that thing, I'm gonna say right now at the beginning of the metagame, at the beginning of the metagame I thought it was good.
The hype entirely came from the candy meta. Like there was no other excuse.
And I admit that because I was looking at this mon, I'm like, okay, it has sleep, it has setup, like it's good, you know, and it has recovery, but Melmetal just like shits on it, and it's just so many checks to it, and it often rarely has a time to set up and sweep. Its coverage is complete ass, and it's just not good. So that's my mistake.
In the candy meta, it was A+, but in this meta, it does not have the bulk.
Because, or it does not have the ability to sleep the whole team, so that too, you know. So.
I mean, no, it didn't have the ability to sleep it in Candy OU either, but...
No,
but it just doesn't have bulk. It doesn't have what it needs, so it can't live long enough to win.
Yeah. So anyway, okay, that's just the last one, but okay, so thank you guys for joining me, and hopefully we could do this with further metagame development. So yeah, peace.
Thanks very much.